Hey guys, and welcome back to part 3 of the Alphas 2.0. Much time has passed since the end of the Alpha and Predator war. We find the Alpha home planet completely destroyed. The alien device works so quickly and efficiently, it's not known how many Alphas were able to escape the planet. There were surely some who were off-world during the Yautja attack, but no Alphas have been seen in the area in ages. The Engineers have suffered the same fate, with their planet left too unstable to live on anymore. The surviving Engineers have most likely fled to other planets, and some have even visited Earth after losing their home. The Predators still have their home planet, Yautja Prime, but its population was devastated by the Protomorphs. Only a small group of a few hundred hunters and females survived. The early Yautja were made up of tribes and clans scattered about their home planet. As time passed and population increased, these clans grew into cities, states, and eventually nations. The hunt was still very important to the Predators, but as their numbers increased, there became a need for scientists, doctors, and other professions. They eventually created their first spacecraft, which would allow them to take their hunt out into the stars. This is where they would meet, hunt, and even go to war with many other alien species. The Protomorph invasion had destroyed their once strong empire. The survivors on Yautja Prime, being mostly hunters and soldiers, decided to go back to the old ways of life in order for the species to survive. This leads us to the Predators as they are now, a race of hunters and warriors, slowly rebuilding the capital city on their homeworld. They've also re-established a few outposts on some of the worlds that they once inhabited, and continue to hunt whenever possible. Our story picks up now with a group of 3 Predator hunters in Earth orbit. The ecosystem here is ripe with animals to be hunted, and the group decides to scout the area out. They are amazed by the amount of animal life that exists here. Eventually, they would come across man, where the Predators would get their first human trophies. Unknown to the Predators, there are still a few surviving Alphas out there, and they are still watching the humans. They're able to assemble a small team, and they meet up with a group of Predators during their hunt. The Alphas are hoping to communicate with the hunters, but even before the war, all attempts at communication failed. Instead, the Yautja attack them, and during the ensuing fight, the hunters are eventually outgunned when the last one activates its self-destruct device, killing all of the Alphas and himself in the explosion. After losing their hunting party, the Predators send their own team to Earth to investigate, when they are met by 2 Alpha derelict ships. Unfortunately for the Alphas, the Yautja ships outnumber them 3-1, causing the Alphas to retreat. The Alphas cannot enter another war with the Predators. They never wanted to enter the first war, but they felt like they had to do something in order to protect their creations. Feeling like they must do something before the feeble humans are attacked by the Yautja again, they make the decision to recreate the Protomorphs and reuse them as an army against the Predators once again. However, this would prove to be a fatal mistake this time. With the Alpha homeworld being devastated, they simply do not have the manpower or secure facilities needed to handle the raising of the Protomorph army safely. Because of this, the aliens end up breaking free of their creators and end up taking over the entire science outpost, killing all of the Alphas stationed there. Meanwhile, the Engineers have started testing the catalyst on themselves, and they've created what I like to call a Xenoengineer. They are a hybrid of the alien created from the Black Catalyst and the Engineers themselves. These beings are taller and much stronger and durable than the normal Engineers. Not only do they have an extremely durable endoskeleton, but they also had a chitinous alien-like exoskeleton that grew on their torso and functioned as armor. The Engineers created these Xenoengineers, or XEs as I'll call them, to do the heavy lifting for them. They'd be used as soldiers and explorers to handle the work deemed too dangerous. The XEs would reverse engineer a fleet of Juggernaut ships in the image of the derelict. Once this was done, the Engineers end up towing the Alpha derelict to another location. The XEs were then left on LV-223 to further experiment with the Alpha technology. Slowly, this group of XEs began to resent the Engineers, seeing them as slave drivers and inferior beings. The Xenoengineers were testing a new way of piloting the Juggernauts by wearing a suit that would interface with the pilot's chair and computer system, much like the Alphas did on their ships. While testing this flight method, they came across the planet Earth. The Engineers, of course, had been to Earth, but no XEs had been told of the Engineer experiments there. Upon further investigation, they notice that the humans seem to share their DNA with not only themselves, but the engineers as well. They quickly come to the conclusion that the engineers had to have made these humans. They seem similar enough to the engineers, yet their evolution both physically and culturally seem to be much slower than that of the engineers and the XEs. They see these humans as imperfect beings, made by their own creators and yet given freedom, unlike the XEs that live in servitude. They are not slaves, yet they are inferior. This both bewildered and angered them. The group of XEs then decide to wipe the humans out, proving they are the true race to inherit the stars, not the engineers or the humans. They don't have the numbers to rebel against the engineers, but they could easily wipe out the young humans. And that's when they decide to devise a plan in secret to take the human race out. Later, this group of rogue XEs attempt to gain a weaponized form of the substance from LV-223. Unfortunately for them, an accident happens, and we come to the outbreak as seen in Prometheus that kills all of them. In fact, the very same XEs that secretly plan to attack the Earth are in the group that are seen in the dead pile of bodies in Prometheus. This is the reason why the plan to kill the humans isn't followed up on. It wasn't a plan, just some rogue XEs who all end up dead in the LV-223 outbreak. This outbreak is then followed by the events of Prometheus and Alien Covenant. So come back for the fourth and final episode where we get to see what happens to David after Alien Covenant. And as a bonus, we're going to learn where the Aliens vs. Predator universe enters this whole story. Thanks again for watching, guys. Take care, and I hope to see you back here for the finale.